This is a virtual presentation for the 2013 Constructed Environment Conference. My name is Mary Beth Graybert. I'm from Michigan State University in Lansing, Michigan, with the Land Policy Institute. I'm going to be talking today about a study that we conducted on neighborhood attributes and their impact on home values. The Michigan State University Land Policy Institute conducts research and outreach on land policy issues and land policy options, mainly in Michigan and the United States. We feel that the way that we use and build our built environment affects our quality of life. And we've been researching recently placemaking, which is an approach to improving the built environment to meet changes in societal needs. Just to provide a quick outline of the presentation today, I'll give a brief introduction and background into placemaking and how this study came to be. And then I'll go over some of the results from our survey of Midwest United States homes and neighborhoods. Then we'll talk about how we use that data and some additional data to do a property price assessment in these same Midwest cities and provide some conclusions and policy recommendations from this study. The background for this study is that there are changes in the U.S. population demographics and also changes in demand for housing and neighborhood types in urban environments. In particular, with respect to race, the Hispanic population is expected to triple by the year 2050. African American populations are also growing at a faster rate than Caucasian populations. This is important because Hispanic and African American populations are found to be more likely to and to prefer to live in urban environments. Another segment of the population that is growing is the young talent, the young creative class. These are the millennial generation, those people born between 1980 and 2000, who are considered to be economic drivers in the new economy. They're looking for environments that are dense, walkable, and mixed use, where they can have access to jobs, green space, arts and culture, entertainment, a variety of housing and transportation options, and affordable living. Unfortunately, Michigan cities currently don't meet this changing demand for housing and neighborhood types. And so we need to embrace something called placemaking in order to meet this changing demand, make our cities and downtowns more attractive places with a higher quality of life for all residents. And we can do that through making changes in our built environment. The term placemaking has a variety of definitions, but the definition that we're using for this study is the targeted improvement of a place within a neighborhood or a community that uniquely creates a functional space. That is, it has a variety of uses, and that's appealing to a wide range of people. Also, it has an identifiable character or a sense of place. There are two main parts to this study. The purpose of the study is to determine, number one, how citizens view placemaking as we've defined it, both in terms of the value that it has for their communities and what types of place amenities they want to have within close walking distance of their houses. Also, we want to ask, what economic value does placemaking derive in the neighborhood? And we're going to be measuring that by the change in housing prices in places that have some of these placemaking elements, such as walkability, access to green space, and mixed use. This is some of the previous literature that we read with respect to this research. For instance, there was a survey conducted by Belden, Rusinello, and Stewart for the National Association of Realtors in 2011. They found that 60% of survey respondents prefer to live in a neighborhood with a mix of uses and easy walking distance, as opposed to 40% of the respondents that want to live in areas that are disconnected and where they have to get to places by getting in their car. Respondents also noted that high priorities in choosing a place to live for them included privacy, commute time, high-quality public schools, and having places to walk and sidewalks to walk to them. Another study conducted in 2005 found that homes in neighborhoods with a new urbanist style form, that is, those neighborhoods that are walkable with a range of housing and job types, in Sacramento, California, had a 4.25% premium compared to homes in a typical suburban neighborhood. And finally, a study conducted in 2009 by Courtright estimated that above average levels of walkability command a premium of about $4,000 to $34,000 over houses with just average levels of walkability in the typical metropolitan area in the United States. That was measured by WalkScore, which is an online tool where you can go in and put your address, and it will tell you the walk score from 0 to 100 in terms of the places that you have within walking distance of your house. This next set of slides reports the findings from the first part of our study. In order to learn more about people's views on placemaking and place amenities, we started with a survey of households in 11 cities in the Midwest United States. These 11 cities are Traverse City, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Flint, Lansing, Kalamazoo, and Royal Oak, Michigan, as well as Lakewood, Ohio, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, Rochester, Minnesota, and Davenport, Iowa. The communities in the Midwest were selected because they have some similarities to the cities that we studied in Michigan. One section of this survey looked at what place factors influence home purchase decisions of the people who were surveyed. Basically, this graph shares the results from those questions. The graph can be read from right to left. Green indicates a big influence of that factor in the decision to purchase a home. Red indicates an influence, and so the more of the graph that's taken up by the green and red space, the more important that factor was in determining which home to purchase. The top factors we found, number 1 was safety, number 2 was commute time to job or school, number 3 was affordability, and number 4 was walkability, that is the ability to walk or bike to many nearby places. We also asked how far people would be willing to walk within their neighborhood to reach a destination, such as a store, a restaurant, park, or other places that they might frequently visit. We found that most people, about 56%, prefer to walk to destinations that are within 15 minutes, although some are willing to go up to 20 minutes. What this means for placemaking is that each neighborhood needs to have certain types of amenities within a 15 to 20 minute walk in order to be considered walkable. We also asked folks how long it would take them to walk to some of these nearby amenities. We found that most people could walk within 20 minutes to transit stops, parks, convenience stores, schools, restaurants, grocery stores, and retail. However, most people cannot walk to their job or to a university or college. Another set of questions from the survey asked people to tell us about the aesthetics and the safety in their neighborhood. In particular, we asked them, how would you rate the overall look and feel of a walk in your neighborhood? A majority of respondents, that 78%, said that a look and feel of a walk in their neighborhood would be a high to a very high quality. We also asked how safe people feel in their neighborhood. A majority of them, 75%, said that they feel very to extremely safe. This result was not consistent across the cities in the study. For instance, when we did cross-tabulations, we found that people in Rochester, Minnesota, 92% of them said that they feel very to extremely safe, while in Flint, Michigan, only 25% of people said that they feel very to extremely safe. In the survey responses, we also noted a connection between health, happiness, and safety with respect to walkability. 93% of people who rated the look and feel of a walk in their neighborhood as very high quality also felt their neighborhood was very to extremely safe. 68% of people who said that they feel extremely safe in their neighborhood also said that they walk often or always. 74% of people who said that they were extremely healthy indicated that they walk often or always. In addition, those extremely healthy people said that the ability to walk or bike in their neighborhood and also access to fresh and healthy foods had a strong influence on their decision to purchase their home. And finally, 70% of people who said they were extremely happy also said that they walk often or always. This next set of slides reports the findings from the second part of our study. People told us in the survey what they like to have in their communities, within their neighborhoods, and the purpose of the hedonic property price analysis was to determine how those preferences translate into property value. The hedonic property price analysis is the methodology that we used for this project. Basically, it helps us to determine how much individual home or neighborhood characteristics are worth to the people who are purchasing these homes. So for example, if we had two homes that were identical, but one was located in a mixed-use urban environment and one was located in a suburb, this hedonic property price method theoretically explains the difference in value between those two homes. We feel that when people vote with their wallets, it is telling us about their true desires as opposed to a survey where they could respond any way they feel we want them to. Also, this value information that we get from the hedonic analysis can help us to build a better built environment. The data that was required for this analysis includes data from the tax assessor's office, which provided information on home and property characteristics, spatial data on the neighborhood, which included information on land uses, parks, natural features, roads, that sort of thing. Also, business location data, which helps to contribute to walkability. We gathered socioeconomic and demographic information from the United States Census. And finally, survey about preferences from the 11 Midwest cities provided some of the data for this analysis. Here's a quick description of the model that we ran. Again, there were 2008 responses from the 11 Midwest cities that helped us to narrow down the data set. Initially, we had 2,000 responses. When we removed outliers and missing data, we came up with 1,669 observations. This methodology regresses home and neighborhood attributes on the natural log of the sale price. We were able to acquire an R-squared value of 0.658 through this model. The target variables that we were looking at are the survey responses with respect to home purchase influence factors. We also want to be clear here that there may be some survey bias associated with this model. We found that the respondents tended to be wealthier and more educated than the general U.S. population, and that could skew some of the results. In terms of control variables in the model, we found results that were basically consistent with the literature. Having more bathrooms and more square footage is generally associated with a higher property price, and that was true in this model as well. The presence of a garage, fireplace, or a finished basement was also associated with a higher price. Higher educational attainment in the neighborhood around the property was associated with a higher price. And living closer to a lake, as one would expect, in particular within 200 feet, is associated with higher property prices. Some other results from the regression that were fairly intuitive, we included dummy variables in the model for the years, and the years that the houses were sold. This generally reflected the housing market in the United States and the Midwest, with prices rising from 2001 to 2007 and falling from 2008 when there was a housing market crisis to 2012. Dummy variables were also included for the cities, and these did show that there are some housing cost differences between Lansing, which was the constant city, and the other cities included in the analysis. Madison, Royal Oak, and Traverse City had higher property prices than Lansing, and Flint, Kalamazoo, and Rochester had lower property prices. In order to add some of the survey responses to the model, we needed to transform some of these variables. For instance, with the influence factors, they were rated on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being a low influence and 5 being a high influence. We created a dummy variable by which 4 and 5 ratings became 1 to show a high influence of that factor, while 1, 2, and 3 became 0 to show no to low influence of that factor. Another set of questions from the survey asked people about the quality of home and neighborhood features. This was rated on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being low quality and 5 being high quality. Again, this was transformed into a dummy variable where 4 and 5 became 1 to show high quality, while 1, 2, and 3 ratings became 0 to show no to low quality. Of the influence factor variables, some were found to have a positive relationship to sale price, that is a positive coefficient. In particular, having shade trees in the neighborhood had a 5.8% marginal price, and having great neighbors within a neighborhood had a 4% marginal price. Other influence factors had a negative relationship to sale price. Street lighting, for instance, had a negative 5.9% marginal price. This could possibly be due to the fact that some people don't want bright lights coming in their windows at night. In terms of the factor for investment potential, that received a coefficient of negative 4.5% marginal price. This is somewhat intuitive because you would expect that people who want to purchase a home at a low price, fix it, and sell it for profit would find those houses at a lower price. And that's also intuitive for affordable housing, which had a negative marginal price of 7.7%. People who are looking for affordable housing hopefully found it, and therefore that would be reflected in a lower sale price. Also, some of the variables showed an insignificant relationship to sale price: the ability to walk or bike, commute time, parks and recreation, shopping, architecture, interior, and off-street parking were all indicated to be influence factors but didn't have a relationship to sale price in the model. In terms of quality factor variables, some of them had a positive relationship to sale price. That is, when we asked people to rate the quality of the nearest restaurant, those folks who said that they rated it as a high or a very high quality showed that there was a 0.2% positive marginal price of that feature, of that variable in the model. Also, having a high quality walk in the neighborhood as measured by the look and feel was associated with a 7.2% higher property price. Some quality factors had a negative relationship to sale price. In particular, a high rating for the quality of the nearest coffee shop and the bedrooms in the house had a negative marginal price, although these amounts are fairly low. Some of the quality features had insignificant relationships to sale price, that is, the quality of the nearest grocery store, energy efficiency of the home, safety, sidewalks, and bike lane availability, which is a little surprising given that safety came up as one of the high influence factors in the survey. Here are a few conclusions from this study. We found that there is a growing interest of people who want to live in urban environments where there's greater connectivity, mixed use, and accessibility. In particular, those growing segments of our population, such as non-white households, low-income families, and the young creative class. In order to attract and retain these segments of the population in these urban areas, we need to be able to improve the quality of life, in particular as it relates to our constructed environment. Through this survey, we found that people would like to be able to walk to nearby destinations that are close to their house, but the quality and the safety of that walk is important. We also found that walking has health and happiness benefits, which relates to their quality of life. In addition, high-quality places with walkability can enhance local economy, as we discovered through the property price analysis. In particular, having a high-quality walk in terms of a look and feel having green space in the neighborhood, and also having good neighbors, which contributes to the sense of community, all have positive relations to property prices. Unfortunately, places in the Midwest United States, particularly in Michigan cities, we still see a lot of auto orientation as opposed to people orientation, so we need to be able to shift our constructed environment to meet those changing needs. And placemaking is one of the methods that we can use to enhance these places through walkability, transit access, connectivity, arts and culture, recreation, entertainment, access to services, etc. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions about this study or would like to discuss the project with me, you can reach me at this email address. That's lakemary@landpolicy.msu.edu, or visit our website to view the report, which is due to be released this fall 2013. Thank you.